Japan built the largest aircraft carrier in the world. Shinano, a secret weapon, 72,000 tons of steel, converted from a Yamato-class battleship, unsinkable armor, advanced design. She sailed on her maiden voyage in darkness, complete secrecy, but USS Archerfish was waiting. 1 submarine, 6 torpedoes. 17 hours later, Shinano was gone. Shinano was supposed to be a battleship, the third Yamato-class super battleship. Construction began in May 1940. She would be armed with 9 18 1-inch guns, the largest naval guns ever made. Her armor would be the thickest in the world. She would be unstoppable, invincible, the ultimate weapon. But the Battle of Midway changed everything. June 1942, Japan lost 4 fleet carriers in one day. The carrier force was decimated. Japan desperately needed carriers, not battleships. Carriers were the future. Carriers won battles. Battleships were obsolete. The decision was made. Convert Shinano to an aircraft carrier. Construction was halted. The design was completely revised. The gun turrets were never installed. Instead, a massive flight deck was built on top of the battleship hull. The conversion took over 2 years. Shinano inherited Yamato-class armor, belt armor up to 16 inches thick, deck armor up to 7.5 inches, the thickest armor ever installed on a carrier. She was designed to survive multiple torpedo and bomb hits. Her underwater protection was advanced, multiple watertight compartments, sophisticated damage control systems. She displaced 72,000 tons, fully loaded, longer than 3 football fields. Her flight deck could accommodate over 40 aircraft, though she would primarily serve as a support carrier, ferrying aircraft, providing supplies, supporting the fleet. Japan believed she was unsinkable, the ultimate carrier, impervious to attack. The armor was too thick, the compartments too numerous. She could survive anything, or so they believed. Shinano was Japan's most closely guarded secret. Construction occurred behind massive screens. Reconnaissance aircraft could not photograph her. Spies could not report details. The Americans knew something was being built, but not what, not how large, not how powerful. Japan planned to unveil her dramatically, a surprise weapon appearing suddenly in battle, shocking the Americans, turning the tide, restoring Japanese naval supremacy. She would be invincible, unstoppable, a game changer. But by November 1944, Japan was losing badly. American forces had captured the Marianas. The Philippines were under assault. B-29 bombers were striking Tokyo. The situation was desperate. Shinano had to be moved, finished elsewhere. She was vulnerable at Yokosuka Naval Base. Too close to American bombers, too exposed. Orders came, sail to Kure Naval Base, on the inland sea. There she would complete fitting out, embark her air group, join the fleet. The voyage would take 2 days, just 500 kilometers, simple, routine, safe. But Shinano was not ready. Her crew was inexperienced. Many systems were not tested. Watertight doors were not properly installed. Civilian workers were still aboard, making adjustments, fixing problems. She should not sail, not yet, but orders were orders. November 28, 1944, evening, Shinano prepared to depart Yokosuka. Captain Toshio Abe commanded. He was deeply concerned. The ship was not ready. The crew needed more training, equipment needed testing, but Tokyo was being bombed. Shinano had to leave. Now 3 destroyers would escort her. Isakaze, Yukikaze, Hamikaze, not enough for such a valuable ship, but no more were available. The Navy was depleted. Most destroyers were sunk or damaged. These 3 would have to suffice. At 18:00 hours, Shinano cast off. The giant carrier moved slowly into Tokyo Bay. Her 4 steam turbines produced 150,000 horsepower, but she cruised at just 18 knots, conserving fuel, avoiding stress on untested machinery. The plan was to stay close to the coast. Use shallow water when possible. Arrive at Kure by November 30th. The weather was poor, overcast, dark, visibility limited, good for avoiding detection, bad for navigation. The crew was tense. This was the maiden voyage. The first time at sea, everything was new, untested, unknown. Captain Abe stood on the bridge, watching, worrying. He had a bad feeling. Something was wrong. He could sense it, but he had no choice. Orders were orders. Shinano steamed south into the darkness, toward her fate. USS Archerfish, a Balao-class submarine, commanded by Commander Joseph Enright. She had been on patrol for weeks, hunting Japanese shipping. Results had been disappointing. No major targets, just small merchant ships. Fuel was running low. Soon she would return to base. On the night of November 28th, Archerfish was patrolling off the Kii Peninsula. The crew was exhausted, the sea was rough. Another routine patrol, another quiet night. Enright was considering heading back early, ending the patrol, going home. At 20:48 hours, radar detected a contact, large surface target, moving south, range 12 kilometers. Enright ordered battle stations. This was interesting, something big, something important. The radar signature was massive. Larger than anything he had seen before. Archerfish turned toward the contact, increased speed, began pursuit. The submarine's diesel engines roared, white water flew over the bow. The crew prepared torpedoes, 6 Mark 14 torpedoes, loaded in forward tubes. Armed, ready, Enright studied the radar. The target was huge. Moving at moderate speed, he could not identify it, a battleship, a carrier, whatever it was valuable, worth pursuing, worth attacking. This could be the target of a lifetime. The hunt began. For hours Archerfish pursued. The target was fast, 18 knots. Archerfish could barely keep pace on the surface. Maximum surface speed was 20 knots, and that was in calm seas. Tonight the sea was rough. The submarine pounded through waves, spray flew everywhere. The crew was soaked, cold, determined. Enright stayed on the surface, using radar to track. The darkness provided cover. Japanese radar was poor. They might not detect a surface submarine. He had to stay on the surface. Submerged speed was only 9 knots. He would lose the target, fall behind, miss the opportunity. But the target kept zigzagging, changing course. Standard anti-submarine procedure, it made interception difficult. Enright had to predict, guess the next turn, position Archerfish ahead, cut corners, race to get into attack position. Hours passed. Midnight came and went. The chase continued. The submarine crew was exhausted, but they persisted. This was too important, too valuable. They could not give up. At 03:00 hours on November 29th, the target zigged toward Archerfish. A stroke of luck. The range closed rapidly. 5 kilometers. 4-3. Enright ordered dive. Archerfish slipped beneath the waves. Silent running. Now they would use periscope stealth. The attack phase had begun. Through the periscope, Enright saw her and could not believe his eyes. An aircraft carrier. The largest he had ever seen. Massive, enormous. Her flight deck stretched endlessly. Her island superstructure towered. This was no ordinary carrier. This was something special, something unprecedented. Enright's hands trembled. This was the target of a lifetime, a once-in-a-war opportunity. Shinano steamed ahead, unaware, no zigzag now, just straight ahead, 18 knots, perfect target, perfect angle. Enright calculated the firing solution. Range, 1,400 meters. Angle on the bow, 70 degrees. Target speed, 18 knots. Depth setting, 4 meters, everything was perfect. At 03:17 he gave the order, fire tube 1, a hiss of compressed air. The torpedo leaped from the submarine. Its electric motor engaged silently. It sped toward the target at 46 knots. Fire 2, Fire 3, Fire 4. Fire 5, Fire 6. 6 torpedoes in the water, spread across 200 meters, running at 4 meters depth. Time to impact 2 minutes. Enright kept the periscope up, watching, waiting. Had they been detected? Would the carrier turn? Would she evade? Shinano continued straight ahead. No alarm, no maneuver, oblivious. The torpedoes raced toward her starboard side, invisible, silent, deadly. At 03:19 the first torpedo struck. 4 torpedoes hit, starboard side. In quick succession, 10 seconds apart, massive explosions, columns of water erupted. The carrier shuddered. Alarms blared throughout the ship. Crew members were thrown from bunks. Officers rushed to the bridge. Damage reports flooded in. 4 hits. All on the starboard side, all below the waterline. Huge holes blasted in the hull. 10 meters wide, water flooded in, thousands of tons per minute. multiple compartments breached, engine rooms flooding, boiler rooms taking water. The carrier listed to starboard, 5 degrees, 7 degrees. Captain Abe assessed the situation. 4 torpedo hits were serious, very serious. But Shinano was designed for this, built to survive. Her armor was thick, her compartments numerous. She was a battleship hull, she was unsinkable. He ordered damage control, seal the breaches. Pump the water, counterflood port side, correct the list. The crew responded, damage control teams rushed below, pumps were activated, valves were opened, but something was wrong. The watertight doors would not close properly, many were not fully installed. Workers had not finished, seals were missing. Equipment was jammed in doorways. The compartments could not be isolated. Water spread from one space to another, flooding areas that should have remained dry. The list increased, 10 degrees, 12 degrees, this should not be happening. Shinano was unsinkable. The anti-torpedo bulges were incomplete. These external blisters were designed to absorb torpedo impacts, protect the main hull. Detonation would occur in the bulge, not against the main hull, but construction was rushed. The bulges were not finished. The torpedoes struck the main hull directly, maximum damage, maximum flooding. The watertight integrity was compromised. Doors that should have sealed did not. Compartments that should have been isolated were not. Water flowed freely through the ship, finding every weakness, every gap. Every opening, the flooding was uncontrollable. Captain Abe remained confident. Shinano could take this. She was strong, she would survive. He ordered continued progress toward land. If they could reach shallow water, they could beach her, save the ship, save the crew. Shinano maintained speed, 18 knots, pushing forward, driving water deeper into the ship through the torpedo holes. This was a fatal mistake. The forward motion forced water through the breaches, like opening a faucet. The faster the ship moved, the faster she flooded. Abe should have stopped, assessed damage, but he believed in his ship, believed in her strength. He was wrong. By 0500 hours, the situation was critical. The list reached 15 degrees. Seawater contaminated boiler rooms. Steam pressure dropped. Speed decreased to 12 knots, then 10 knots. Abe ordered counterflooding. Portside compartments were deliberately flooded, balancing the ship. The list decreased slightly, 13 degrees. It seemed to work, but it was a gamble. More water meant more weight. The ship settled lower, closer to sinking. The flooding on starboard side continued. Nothing could stop it. Pumps could not keep up. The water was winning. At 0700 hours, electrical power failed in sections. Lights went out. Pumps stopped. Ventilation ceased. Men struggled in darkness, in rising water, in toxic fumes. The crew began to panic. This unsinkable carrier was sinking. Reality set in. Fear spread. At 0800 hours, the list returned to 15 degrees, then 17 degrees. Counterflooding had failed. The water was overwhelming. Abe finally accepted the truth. Shinano was doomed. At 0900 hours, he ordered preparations to abandon ship. Life rafts readied, lifeboats prepared, destroyers moved closer, but many crew members refused to believe it. This was Shinano, the unsinkable carrier. She could not sink. They stayed at their posts, fighting, pumping, hoping. At 1000 hours, the order came, abandon ship. The list was 20 degrees. The flight deck tilted sharply. Equipment broke loose. Slid across the deck, crashed into the sea. Men scrambled toward the port side, the high side, away from the water. Life rafts were thrown overboard, ropes deployed. Destroyers came alongside. Dangerous work. The carrier was listing heavily, could capsize at any moment, crush the destroyers, but they stayed, rescued, saved lives. Men jumped into the water, 30 feet down. Some were injured hitting the surface. Others drowned immediately, could not swim. The water was cold, all covered. Hundreds were still inside, trapped in flooding compartments, knowing they would die. At 10:57 a.m., Shinano rolled onto her side. The massive flight deck tilted vertical. The starboard side submerged. Water poured into every opening. Men slid down the deck. Some jumped. Others clung desperately. Then she began the final plunge. Bow rising, stern sinking. She slid backward into the sea. The whirlpool pulled men under. The cold water claimed hundreds more. Of 2,515 people aboard, 1,435 died. Officers, sailors, civilian workers. They drowned in flooded compartments, were crushed by the capsizing, were pulled under by the sinking. Died in the freezing water. Captain Abe survived. He would face court-martial, be blamed for the disaster, though the fault was not entirely his. The 3 destroyers rescued 1,080 survivors, pulled them from the water, treated injuries, saved what they could, but hundreds were never found, lost in the depths, trapped in the wreck. Japan's secret weapon was gone. 17 hours after leaving port, the largest carrier ever built, sunk on her maiden voyage, never launching a single aircraft. Never fighting a single battle. For Japan, the loss was catastrophic, not just the ship, but the psychological impact. The unsinkable carrier had sunk, the secret weapon was destroyed by 1 submarine, 6 torpedoes, in one attack. The myth of invincibility was shattered. For Commander Enright, it was triumph, the greatest submarine kill of the war. Japan built Shinano in complete secrecy, protected her, guarded her, kept her existence hidden for years. She was the secret weapon, the game changer, the carrier that would turn the tide. Her armor was impenetrable, her design was advanced. She was unsinkable, invincible, the ultimate weapon. Then 1 submarine found her, in the darkness, by chance, by luck, by radar. Archerfish was not hunting Shinano specifically, did not know she existed, just hunting whatever appeared. And Shinano appeared, the secret weapon, sailing in darkness, supposedly safe, supposedly hidden. 6 torpedoes, 17 hours, that was all it took, to destroy Japan's secret weapon, to kill 1,435 men, to prove that no ship is unsinkable. That armor means nothing if construction is rushed. That secrecy means nothing if the ship is vulnerable. The largest carrier ever built, sunk on her first voyage. The irony is devastating. Years of construction, millions of yen, thousands of workers, all for 17 hours at sea, all for nothing. Everything went wrong. Shinano was rushed. Construction was incomplete. Watertight doors were not installed properly. Anti-torpedo bulges were unfinished. The crew was untrained. Damage control was inadequate. Captain Abe made mistakes. He should have stopped after the torpedo hits, should have assessed damage, should have called for help. Instead, he maintained speed, drove water deeper into the ship, accelerated the flooding, but the real failure was strategic. Japan rushed Shinano into service, ignored safety, ignored readiness. Desperation led to disaster. They needed her operational, needed her fighting, needed her to make a difference, but she was not ready. She should have stayed in port, completed construction, trained the crew, tested systems. Instead, she sailed to her death, 17 hours from departure to sinking, the shortest career of any fleet carrier in history. Japan's secret weapon, destroyed before she could fight. Shinano rests at the bottom of the Pacific, over 4,000 meters down, in permanent darkness, a tomb for 1,435 souls. No expedition has located the wreck. The depth is too great. She remains lost, a ghost ship, a legend, a cautionary tale. Japan's secret weapon, hidden for years, built in secrecy, launched in darkness. Sailed in darkness, sunk in darkness. The Americans did not know what they had sunk until after the war. Enright thought he had hit a large carrier. He was right. But he did not know how large, how important, how secret. 1 submarine found her in the dark. 6 torpedoes ended her. 17 hours was all she had. The largest carrier ever built, the most heavily armored, the most secret, and the most short-lived. She was Japan's secret weapon. Then 1 submarine found her. And the secret died with her, in the darkness, where secrets belong.